My first wife died in the meantime. I remarried, and at the time that I remarried, I was in a reserve unit that had the where you could either serve half-time or full-time on the thing. You could I forget the details of how that worked out, but I chose the half-time so that I could spend as much time as possible with my wife. Well, that reminds me of another thing that has to go into this archive, as amazing as anything else that I've told you. So I opted for the half-time thing. In general, that hurt me when it came to assessments for promotion. And I think that was a major reason, although I had had very prestigious assignments and very prestigious performance in my reserve duties, I think this was a killer, and I did not make captain, so eventually I just had to transfer to the inactive reserve. But regarding where my second wife comes into this, just after we were married, I was in a process of trying to earn the designator for Naval Attache duty. I thought that was fascinating. I just loved that aspect, and I said, boy, I would love to get that qualification. Well, it turned out it was a 5-year process. So 5 consecutive active duties for training were involved in learning different things that you really had to understand, including diplomatic protocol. You had to learn how to serve in an embassy, how the embassy functioned, how the relationships worked between the attaches and the other staff of the embassy, how the payments and the accounting systems worked, which of course were very different than the Navy, and other special things, including how to use cameras for intelligence purposes, and other things that aren't really classified, but I don't want to go into, about what you would do as an embassy staffer to gain intelligence, because you had to produce what are called IRs, intelligence reports, in considerable volume and on a regular basis. And to the extent you could supplement those with photography, that was good. So you really had to learn handheld camera technology, and they trained us on Leicas with no automation, where everything was hand controlled and you had to understand what you were doing with the camera. Well, interestingly, as part of that training, one of the active duty for training was that we would actually go to the attaché school with the people who were being trained for actual attaché duty. But we would only go for 2 weeks, where they were there for 8 or 9 months. But when people are getting trained for attaché duty, to the extent the wives are willing to do it, they want the wives to come into the training also, the unclassified portions, of course. My wife had been living in New York and doing consulting work, and when we married, she moved down to Washington, and She hadn't built up her consulting work here yet, so she had some time free, and I said, here's what I have to do right now for my Naval Reserve work, and they would like you to attend Attache training course with me. And she said, great. So she went in and she went to the protocol, they had the special protocol classes for the wives, for what you can and can't do with tea service, with coffee service, with issues of when and how you can and cannot serve alcohol, and diplomacy. What are the rules for seating people at tables for functions? What are the rules for who you should talk to, who you should not talk to, and by the way, here are things we would like you to look for to tell your husband that might go into his intelligence reports. So this was, of course, totally fascinating stuff. And in the process of that, we became friendly with people who were the actual attaches. And so we just started having social events 2 or 3 times a week for the couple of weeks. So we had regular attaches come to our house, and they had us to their house, and just all became buddies. It was a very, very interesting thing. And she was also welcomed into the camera class with me. So she was taught all the technologies of manipulating a non-automated camera, and how to judge intelligence quality work from other intelligence work. So all very fascinating. She was always pleased with my naval service, did not mind the fact that I had these I lost a weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer and like that, but she understood what it was about, and she was a person of considerable professional experience herself, enough so that she understood the intelligence business. Oh, one other detail I ought to mention is that I was probably illegally married, according to the Navy, for about 3 or 4 months, because she is a native of Turkey, had a permanent residency in the United States. She had been here for quite a few years, and even had experience working for the CIA, because she worked as a contractor. She's a PhD statistician, and she worked as a subcontractor to a contracting firm who had a contract with the with CIA as well as defense and other governmental organizations, and where the work got involved with intense and innovative statistical analysis, but they could disguise what the variables actually were, just describe the variables and their statistical properties. Then she could work with it and give them the proper analysis and equations. So, but in working with a defense contractor, she was very much aware of classified material, the intelligence business, and like that. So she fit in very well as a wife of a professional intelligence officer too. So that all worked out well.